Welcome, everybody. My name is Rose Roscoe. I'm an occupational therapist and assistive technology specialist with the Special Ed Technology Center. And I'm here today with my colleague, Linda Daly.
Hi,
Linda.
I'm Linda Daly, and I'm an AT specialist with the Special Education Technology Center.
And today our focus is going to be on closed captioning and multi-language support. So some of you may already know that within the Zoom platform, you can choose to have captions on your screen by just going to the toolbar and hitting the triple dots, and then you just scroll down to where it says, I just had this, captions. Okay, Linda, I just saw that.
And mine actually on the Zoom toolbar says CC closed captions.
There you go. Captions, there it is.
On how wide your toolbar is.
I found it. It's the third, on mine it's the third choice down. So if you want that, you can always click on that within Zoom. What I wanted to demonstrate live today is how you could also choose to listen to this presentation in a translated another language. And so we are trying out something called PowerPoint Live. And to that end, I'm going to go back a slide and show you the welcome screen. So this is the welcome screen for PowerPoint Live, which you present through PowerPoint Online. And I'm inviting you to join a session. So this would open the PowerPoint on another screen for you, where you can go back and review prior slides. You can ask for my voice to be either translated into a live captioning in English or another language if you prefer. And this is something, of course, you can use with anything you're doing where you want clients to have access to another language. So today's agenda, we're going to dive into using closed captions on all presentations and videos and teaching translation tools to remove language barriers. So this is the full 8 tips again. So we've gone through tips 1 and 2 in session 1. Session 2, we did tips 3, 4, and 5. Now we're today covering tips 6 and 7. And then in our final session, we'll be digging into this implementation and built-in accessibility features. So the beauty of this tool is this is something you can take back to your districts and use to help educate people on how to make content accessible. We have this in 2 versions. Again, this infographic version and a very plain, a plain text but accessible version if that's the preferred method. All right, so let's get into a few examples and then we'll do some more sharing here in a little bit. So we're going to start with, we're going to use both Microsoft examples and some Google examples. And so talking first about how do you just, if you're doing PowerPoint online, like I'm doing this PowerPoint Live, which is one step different, but just in any PowerPoint you're doing now, if you just go to slideshow like you see here, and let's see if I can try this. You go to the slideshow. All right, maybe I'll just show you because I already have it. And then always use subtitles. You just click on that and there's a drop-down menu there that lets you choose the speaker's language and the receiving language that you want to see on the other end. And where do you want the subtitles to appear? You can see down here, do you want below or above the slide? And then I just added a link to this video on how to use PowerPoint Live, which I'm doing today, for inclusive and engaging presentations. All right, and then if you're in a Teams meeting, we're using Zoom as our platform right now, but if we were doing a Teams meeting, you can actually, again, turn on those live captionings right here. This is what the menu bar looks like in a Teams meeting. You just do the triple dots. This is your pop-up menu, and right down here it says turn on live captions. So let's just keep going on to Google. Do you want to talk about this one, Linda?
Sure. So you can use the closed captioning in Google. When you go to the slideshow, you can then, it's a little bit different in that you start the slideshow and then down at the bottom where you will advance the slides, you have your 3 little ellipses. And then once you bring that up, one of the options there is caption preferences. And then you'll go to a screen that tells you to toggle your captions, that if they're off, they'll go on. If they're on, they'll go off. And then you can choose your position, top or bottom there, and your text size. And the text size is like small, medium, and large. It's not totally specific to, the point size, but you do have those options. So it's pretty easy to use. You just have to know that it won't show up until you're presenting the slideshow, and then it will be there with the options that are below where you're advancing your slides.
All right, so now we'll go on to tip 7. It's really important to use translation and not wait for someone to ask for you, because there might be a barrier there, and maybe someone doesn't know that they have the option to ask for translation, or they're embarrassed to ask for it. Who knows? So just assume somebody needs it out there, set it up, and make sure that you're removing that barrier to give every student and family and parent the best access possible. So the 2 free tools we're going to demo here are, again, Microsoft Translator and Google Translator. There's and the nice part is both of those have apps that you can use on your phone, or you can go directly to the tool online if you're on a computer. So, and this is just the link to go to our SETC resource page on that topic, but we're going to show you some specific slides here. So here's Microsoft Translator. And since I started using this Microsoft Translator, it's come a long way in improving. And this is a screenshot of just when you first go into Translator. This is online. There's a little screen to join a conversation. So if I want to start one on my end and I'm having a meeting, I just go in here and put in my name, and I can click on Start Conversation, right? And then it'll give me a code I can share. Likewise, if I initiate it, I just have to share my code, and other people can join that conversation. So you'll see how this works. And you saw in that video, Chinook Middle School, there was a principal just having a meeting with a parent in his office. He was using this where he just started a conversation, shared the code, and then that parent could choose her home language to interact with them. So easy, works great. A phone is a great way if that's what everyone has. And I'm saying phone is probably your most universal tool right now with families. This is just a little example of how this translation was set up at a parent night. So when I was in Bellevue School District, I helped the special ed coaches were doing a class for parents in the evening. And it was kind of like Special Ed 101. And you can see there's quite a few parents there in that middle picture. So I got them set up so that the translation was showing up under the slides. But then we made sure that we were offering school district iPads that had Translator set up, or they could download it on their own phone. And then I went around and make sure parents got the code and were able to get in, and they were so appreciative. And it gave them, one more avenue. They could just keep it up on their table right next to them and be looking at their home language, listening to what they could understand verbally, and being able to supplement that. So that was a really successful evening several years ago that I did. And this was another fun one. These 2 teachers in the upper right were ELL teachers, and they put on a morning coffee hour for all their ELL students and families. So you can't see it, but this room is full, chock full of parents and students at 8 a.m. all there for this coffee hour. And so again, we did the same thing. I helped them set up ahead of time the translation. And I think, again, the best practice when you're presenting is to have it in English, like as a closed caption, and then let individual students and parents pick their home language so that you're not having someone else's language up there that might not be someone else's preference. So here you can see predominantly there was a lot of Chinese speaking families there, but it was really fun, and I got great reviews from the whole parent. They were super excited about it. Never knew that would have been offered to them until we just set it up, and it was just they were all big smiles. And then, so this is just kind of for later for your reference on the Microsoft Translator app. Just knowing that one way to use the app, again, is going to this URL. You can do it on a computer, or you can go straight to your phone or tablet. So if I choose a presenter mode as the host, then it's a one-way conversation where you cannot respond to me. You can only hear me and see my voice translated to yours. So you can do this as a presenter or just as an interactive conversation. So if I go to the next slide, where was it? Yeah, presenting with MS Translate. I can go to the same website or the app, and then I would hit presenter mode, and you can see how I do that, where I say the mic stays on all the time. I don't have to hold it down. It stays on and it mutes everybody else. So that's kind of a cool feature too, that if you're presenting, like if you don't want to mess up your presentation mode on the computer, but you want people to have the option to come on, just initiate it on your phone, your phone will hear your voice, and whoever wants to join can hear it in their own language, right on their personal device. So that's kind of a cool way to do it, a workaround. If you're in a meeting and you know there's a closed caption or a translation need, just initiate it on your phone, have the phone near the speaker, phone or an iPad, and then just make sure you post the code or the QR code for people to join the conversation. And then I'm going to talk about YouTube, and I kind of just already demonstrated this to you live, so I don't need to go through it again. But if you forget, remember, you just circle, or this closed captioning, you click it, and closed captions will come on just in English. And if you want to go into the auto translate to another language, you click on that little gear shift settings icon, and that's where you go in. Not only can you change the language, but you can change the text, the background color, and more. There's all kinds of settings in there that you can adjust to the visual preferences of your listener as well. Let's move on to Google. Go ahead.
If we want to translate on slides on Google, you can't actually translate what you're speaking like you can with PowerPoint Live. So that's not an option to translate the actual presentation speaking, but you can translate what is on the slides, and you get what's called an add-on with the Google Slides. And so what you're going to do is you'll get that add-on, and there's 3 different ones that we found, and I just selected the one that has the best rating with the most people using it and seemed like it was the easiest one to use. So that's the one that the Slides Translator is the one that I'm featuring just for that reason. But you would just select the text on the screen, and then you would select add-ons and then Slide Translator, and then translate the text you've done. And that will allow you to choose the language. I actually have a slide. The next slide kind of demos, like has a screenshot of it. And so I have a slide in the background you can see, and I have it highlighted. And then I went up to add-ons, Slide Translator, and then translate text box. And then you'll see the last bit of that slide colors and the last and are warm. And so then what happens is once you select that, then it says select the language you want. I chose French and hit translate. And then that text will be translated along the side of your slide deck. So it just has a running translation of what's on the slide. Mm-hmm. So with Google.
I was just thinking about how to use this, and when would you use this as a different tool than like the Microsoft translation that's live? So obviously the Microsoft Translator is good with the live presentation, but let's say you have a student who's maybe creating a presentation or looking at someone else's PowerPoint, like in an asynchronous way, like, okay, the teacher gave this PowerPoint for them to take home and look at and learn from. Now is where they can select the text and look at it and understand it in their own language as they study it kind of on their own. Or again, if they're creating text and they're typing it, but they want to change it to their own language to present maybe to a group of speakers of French or Spanish or Chinese, they could do it. So there would be some good reasons to use this kind of in a different way. So it's good to have all these tools in your toolbox. Thanks,
and
Mike.
as a workaround, you could run the Google Translate on your phone or on another device in the background, and so you'd have that to be listening to the translation of the speaker. So there are workarounds, but it would involve another device.
That brings us to Google Translate Online.
Okay, and so you're going to see it's very similar to what you saw actually with the Microsoft Translate. And I think a lot of people have used this because this one has been around for a long time. So you go to the translate.google and it'll translate documents or websites, and then you can just type it in there, or you'll notice the microphone so you can speak it also. And then it will translate it, and you can hear it you can hear the translation spoken back to you if you click the speaker. The other thing I wanted to say is that you can get a Google Chrome add-on that will translate a website with just a click of that. And Dan wants to add something. So Dan, please do.
Seeing AI allows you to select a language So if I chose, for example, French and pointed it at my, a page on a textbook,
Mhm.
it'll read it aloud in the language that I chose on the fly and read it aloud. Yeah.
So Google Translator app, also you can speak the language and then have it translated. You can take a picture of it and have it translated. It also, and it puts the original and then also the translation right on the screen, and you can hear it said back to you. So similar, and it also does have the conversation option. So
and I really like this bullet too, that you can, once you set it up, you can translate with no internet connection too. So it's not dependent on that. Again, we're a small intimate group today. So why don't we just take a few minutes to do some sharing or silent. You can share in the big group or share. Sorry about that. Resume. On these things. So these are our UDL options. So if you like videos, you could go watch one of these videos. And the first one we already saw today, but if that's for future reference as well. You might want to go peruse a website for a few minutes, or we can just have a little sharing time on what experiences have you had using closed captioning or translation in your district. Talked a little already, but we can do more. And how can you foster a district-wide culture of removing language barriers by using closed captioning or translation?